And I realized after a while that if you just draw like a grid on the screen and you make it so you can like click on and off, there's like something like
it's like Candy Crush, isn't it? You just sort of like
it's literally pleasurable to like click.
Hi, welcome to The Local. It's a podcast where we talk about all things crypto, markets, and the like. Obviously, you'll notice that I'm not with Tim today. He's having a well-deserved holiday. But I do have Nathan from Euphoria with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about MEV, DeFi, and tap trading. So, Nathan, for people who... Oh, you also note that we've got tea today, because we've been very, very civilised. Which you can do that in the pub.
To increase my drinking, clearly.
No, damn, my liver's giving you a blessing for this. So yeah, for Nathan, for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction?
Yeah, I'm Nathan, the CEO and founder of Euphoria. You might have known me from my days in MEV. I've also built local CoinSwap, Spend Crypto, and a few different sort of products in the past.
So is it safe to say you're an OG?
Yes, I think I got into crypto in 2011, and I brought Bitcoin. And if I just hadn't sold that Bitcoin, I wouldn't have had to do any of this stuff. I sold too early. Yeah.
That was what I mean. I mined some around about then as well, and I left them on. I was a Sony Vaio laptop running Xubuntu actually, and I gave the laptop to my then girlfriend, and she was very annoyed about having Linux on it. So she made me put Windows on it, and I formatted the hard drive with 100 Bitcoins on.
Wow.
So
it's like your whole life, like mine, is just like trying to make up for the fact that you don't have that Bitcoin. I had a friend as well. We went to, I think it was Studio 88 or something like that in Berlin. This was maybe 2012 as well. And he brought a burger for me, and I sent him some like Bitcoin or whatever. And then a few years later, he was like, "Hey man, do you know how to like get hold of that Bitcoin?" He'd lost the phone or something. It's like, and it was a few $1 million as well by that point. Yeah, and that was a lot of money for him.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. So I guess I first came across you as when you were in I think it was called the DeFi cartel, was it? And you'd put a blog post up, a very famous sort of dark forest MEV style trade.
The salmonella.
Yeah, salmonella. Yeah. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so I mean, for anyone who's not familiar with like MEV, it's I guess sort of like HFT on the blockchain, where every time a block arrives on the chain, there's some kind of opportunity. You can think of it as like money on the table, and then like different people are competing to be the fastest to sort of like pick up the money. You do various things to get structural advantages, like becoming a validator or whatever, or getting.
This was pre.
This was proof of work.
Yeah, this is old school, right? 2020. Was it?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the forms of MEV trading that was like a little bit controversial was sandwich trading, because it kind of has like a victim. So a user is making a transaction on the blockchain, they want to swap or whatever, and they've sort of subscribed to one set of rules where like on the UI, it says slippage. The user expects that when they set this slippage, they're not usually going to get charged the slippage, but if the price moves against them a little bit, then they'll incur some of that as a fee. But what actually happens is that there's traders sort of watching for user transactions, and then when a user transaction arrives, the trader places a buy before it to sort of artificially bid up the price. Then they execute the user's transaction,
and the slippage is then calculated on the new artificial price. And this is sub-block, right? So this is happening inside the ordering of the transactions inside the actual block.
Yeah, and so the user, every single time they swap, ends up paying basically 100% of the slippage that they've set as like a tax for execution. So they sort of consent to one set of rules, and then the traders artificially impose another set of rules.
Black hat traders.
Exactly, yeah. And it was getting pretty bad, sort of like just after Flashbot's era on Ethereum, because we'd sort of reached like peak saturation of sandwich trading, where like basically 100% of users' transactions would like get sandwiched. And it became even more controversial when some of the miners started entering into the arena. And Ethermine set up a sandwich trading operation. So they were publishing blocks, and they were basically like building the sandwich trades directly into the blocks.
Yeah, because I mean, it kind of almost seems to like validate a little bit of the fairness. If you're the miner and you're selecting you're selecting the transaction ordering in some sense inside the block, then you can order the transactions as you wish.
Yeah, you're like using your privileged access to exploit the users, I guess.
A bit like having a B book if you're an exchange.
Yes.
And none of the exchanges have got those.
Yeah. I'd sort of always been very interested in like the PvP nature of MEV trade. And I enjoyed the fact that like there's money on the table and there's other people sort of sitting around the table and like we're trying to rug each other in a way. Like, we're all competing for the same pot of money. Maybe there's opportunities to even sort of like rug their contracts. And I was looking at Ethermine's new sandwich bot. And I noticed that there was like little fractional amounts of tokens that were just kind of sitting on the smart contract. So I thought, okay, like if you were trading clean, like this wouldn't happen. So there's some like error, there's some like issue with the system, the way that they're operating this bot. Maybe that is exploitable somehow. So I just did a bunch of work to essentially like recreate the way that they were likely doing this maths to like result in, and I realized like, hey, they're actually not checking the
This
output.
is V2, right, as well? So everything was analytic.
Everything was V2, yeah. So I realized that they're probably doing some kind of binary search. And it's just like not a great algorithm, basically.
It's just the error as it converges rather than
yeah. So I essentially spun up a honeypot contract and launched it on Uniswap V2 that would just like bait them into thinking that it was a victim transaction when actually the token had a switch where when the switch was activated, it would just like not output the amount of tokens that the person.
So you'd modified the actual transfer function inside.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't like too complicated. I think the hard part was the execution.
But they're not simulating the transactions back then.
I mean, they should have been, but clearly not. Yeah. I think like it became a little bit of a cat and mouse game afterwards, where like they would put some protections in, and salmonella attackers would sort of like find a way around the protection. But this was like the first sort of time someone had done it, so I just don't think that they were expecting it. Basically,
how did you come up with the name salmonella?
They're sandwich trading, right? It's like, what's the absolute worst
sandwich you can have?
Like getting salmonella in your sandwich. I actually launched another contract shortly afterwards called Vegemite because, I'm Australian. Like a lot of people don't like Vegemite. It's also probably a bad thing to have in the
Is that you like it or you love it though?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the same slogan for Vegemite actually, or is that just purely Marmite?
I don't know, but I am a big Vegemite fan. I just don't think that Marmite.
I'm definitely on the Marmite side. Okay. I don't think I've actually ever eaten Vegemite. Was that your first bit of fame, would you say? In the crypto world?
I'd say probably, yeah. It's definitely what got me the notoriety. So after I'd done it, it was just kind of like a bit of fun. And there was a little bit of like a moment for me where I had to decide, like, do I want to be a little bit more public about this or do I just want to keep doing it and just stay private about it?
Were you anon back then or no?
I was like basically anon. Like I had launched Local CoinSwap and I was the CTO of Local CoinSwap. So I'd done some like respectable things, but nothing that had gained me sort of public recognition. So I'd just been building stuff basically. And I realized like, hey, if I talk about this, it's going to kill my profit opportunities. Whereas if I like keep it secret, I can probably make a bunch more money over the next month or so. Like there's a lot up for grabs here. But I did just have this gut intuition that it would be better for like the trajectory of my life if I wrote about this and sort of like published it.
So did you publish it? I presume the alpha decayed over the course.
I published it like the next day.
Yeah. So and was there still alpha in it when you published it?
There was still some alpha. Yeah. So for about a week, there was still like I was still launching salmonella contracts.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think I made the right decision in retrospect because, I lost probably a lot of money initially from doing that. But the recognition that I got allowed me to like hire people more easily, allowed me to network more easily, got me a lot of opportunities that sort of like still exist to this day. So
was it after that you started involved in putting research out there full time as well?
I did advise Flashbots, but some of it was sort of like research. It was like research where it like crossed over into my domain expertise with MEV. Because I'd done a lot of work on like optimizing the transaction propagation layer, different things like that. So I had a lot of skills there that I was able to utilize for Flashbots research purposes.
So would you consider yourself an engineer then, or what were if you were
going
to define where would you rank your skill set on that?
It's sort of hard to answer that question because if you zoom back in my life, like before crypto, it's like I was making like soap at one point. I launched a supplement company. I ran
so
like
entrepreneur
telemarket.
Might be a better.
I think so. But if I had to look at like all the things that I've done in crypto, I think building trading platforms probably defines me the most because I launched Local CoinSwap. I launched Euphoria. I've helped launch a bunch of DEXs as well. So I've just like the most common thing has been like trading platforms of some kind.
So that's a nice segue actually. So we can talk about Euphoria. So this has been the latest thing that you've been doing. It's obviously been getting quite well. At least on my Twitter timeline, it's been getting quite a lot of attention. For the viewers that haven't heard about it, which I think there might be zero. But what's Euphoria?
Yeah, so Euphoria is a answer to the question, what if derivatives was a consumer experience? How would we build the best consumer experience possible? So behind the scenes, it's essentially an options protocol. But how we got there was just thinking, okay, like forget about the infrastructure, forget about like everything that's going to actually make this work. Let's just concentrate on the trading interface itself, and let's just look at like all the different things that are out there and see what we can bring in to create the most fun platform possible to trade on. So it started with a really deep brainstorming session where I essentially isolated myself for about a month, like in a room. And I was just thinking like over and over again, like what is the most fun trading experience that we can possibly create? And I was doing a lot of research at the same time. So I was playing a lot of mobile games. I went and used like all of the different trading platforms out there. I went to the casino even for the first time. I was literally like purposely getting addicted to mobile games. Like I would play like Cookie Clicker and I would spend like $1,000 on the game, like just to see what it felt like to be a whale like mobile game user. And I was trying to start with like really simple ideas, kind of minimalist of like, if you could just have like one thing on the screen, what would be like a cool thing to put on the screen? And I realized after a while that if you just draw like a grid on the screen and you make it so you can like click on and off, there's like something like
it's like Candy Crush, isn't it? You just sort of like
it's literally pleasurable to just like click and then I was like, okay, so you add a price line on that. So okay, this is kind of cool, but like what is like the trading? And like I played around with some like perp style things, and I just realized like when you have these little boxes and you just like clicking and when the price hits the box you get a multiplier, that's just like super fun. It's so simple, right? It's like 3 elements basically. And so I had a few ideas and I was like shopping them around to see to get feedback from people, and this tap trading idea was the one that resonated with everyone. So people said like, wow, there's something here. And I also realized like this is kind of difficult to build. Like this is a world where vibe coding had just kind of started. I realized like there's no mode.
Yeah, I was going to say, so when are we talking? Is this 2024?
This is like 2024.
Yeah.
So like
the AI,
the AI's just started.
Yeah, we're not in like full agent world yet then, but like they're starting to get quite useful. Yeah, they're starting to get quite useful. Yeah.
So it needs something like kind of difficult to build, something that was like very new and something that resonated with people. And this tap trading just like basically ticked all of the boxes. So yeah, have been working on that ever since.
Yeah, I mean, was it successful raise last year?
Two raises.
Two raises last year.
So we did a small pre-seed round and we did a seed round as well. Okay. Yeah.
How and so what's the team like size now?
Yeah, so now we have about 15.
Okay, nice.
I think in total,
are you one of these fully remote teams, or are you
fully remote? Yeah, okay. No offices anywhere. Actually, I've only really worked with fully remote teams before.
Interesting. Because how do you find that?
So it's just all I've ever known.
Right,
yeah. So I have heard a lot of people say like, oh, you're just not the same when you're when you're not in person. I think I've personally just been able to be careful with like hiring, because like some people are like probably very effective in person, but they're not effective when they're not in person.
I do really value the mental separation of like going somewhere to work, and also like the in-person conversation. You can, I do think, reach decisions faster. However, it has a big downside, right? Because your talent pool becomes instantly divided by 100, or 50 or something. Some number of that size, because you are saying, well, you've got to be able to travel to this one place, this geographic location, right? So
I guess like one of my weaknesses is I've sort of got very little distinction between my work and my personal life. Maybe I've been lucky enough to find some other people to work with that are like similar. Like all my co-founders are like real grinders. Yeah. But definitely throughout my like career, there's a few people where I've just met them and I'm like, this is like the person that I'm just always going to be working with. Like Johnny, who's my co-founder.
Yeah, I've met.
We met like ages ago. Johnny and I have worked on like 4 different projects together. But it's like if I'm doing something and Johnny's available, I'm going to work. He's just like my guy, right? He's really smart.
Is he leading the technical?
He's leading the technical side of things. Yeah. And my brother, obviously, I work with very closely as well. And Casey, our head of growth. You just like meet some people. You're like, this is just like a really competent individual, and I just want to like keep doubling down on them over and over again. So I think I'm lucky. Like the one thing I've done with my career is just try and sort of identify those people and just like hold on to them.
It's going to be a mobile first experience then. It's you're not expecting people to be logging on desktop, or
you can log on desktop. So you can log on desktop. You can install it to your desktop. You can install it to your mobile as a PWA. You can play it in the browser, and you can play it as a Telegram mini app. We do want to have an iOS app. Obviously, that's kind of like challenge. You can definitely play it like whatever device you're using, and it's synchronized as well. So if you have it open on your laptop and on your phone at the same time, you'll see like the trading experience is synchronized.
So it's all built on Mega ETH chain. What was the decision making behind that?
there was a few different factors that led to choosing Mega ETH. Obviously, there are a number of chains that are doing like this, where as fast and cheap as possible.
It's been a meta for the
It's
L1s.
a meta,
Yeah.
So I did investigate like a few different chains that I could launch with, like Monad, a few other ones as well. This might sound like very random, but I have always had a hypothesis in life about this like spectrum of like warm and cold people, where like people exist on this spectrum of like warm to cold, and they just like go back to wherever they sit on the spectrum. Like if you get someone who's kind of naturally cold, when you first meet them, they might be like warm, but then like over time they sort of become cold again. And if you meet a warm person, they could be having a bad day and they could be an asshole, but they just kind of warm. And like you over time you identify whether people are more warm or cold, but there's like clues, obviously. You still look for like red flags and green flags when you meet people. And when I met the Mega ETH team, they were just clearly like very warm. Like, at the time, I wasn't even necessarily going to do anything with them, but they were like trying to help me. They were just like very positive, very encouraging. And I just saw like a lot of sort of green flags. Like these are just warm people, like a great team to work with. And one of my personal philosophies is that if I meet a very warm person, I just try and only invest emotionally in warm people, because even if short term it's not obvious why it makes sense, like long term the alignment just always flows more. Like it's just more natural alignment with like a person that is warm, right, and just like is orientated to like care about other people, even when there's not an incentive.
So, because I mean, which chain it's going to be on is obviously a pretty big decision for when you're building something on that's going to be a run on blockchain rails. If I'm new to crypto, or but I'm really interested in doing this tap trading because I think it's a cool thing. I get to bet on where things are going. But then I've got this barrier of, okay, like how, have I got to get the network right? And do I need to get some assets to pay a little bit of gas and all this kind of stuff? How do you feel that does Mega ETH fix any of that, or do you think that's just something we've got to stick with?
I think Mega ETH fixes a lot of things, like it's like very fast and cheap. A lot of these things are also sort of like not their job necessarily to fix, like creating like the best onboard, like fiat ramp onboarding experience.
So you're not getting involved with that whatsoever, or not certainly in V1?
We are trying to reduce the friction as much as possible, like especially in terms of the onboarding. So it's very important to us that you can onboard with fiat currency. It's just like a very seamless sort of onboarding experience.
So are you using a provider to be able to do that?
We're working with Privy and also a couple of different integrations with Privy to just try and make it as smooth as possible. But it's always like a continuous, a goal of us to just make it as easy as possible. I think ideally you would have like Apple Pay and Google Pay, where just like double click on the side of your phone.
That's the best experience, right? I want to use it, I download it, boom.
I think it's important not to forget how far we've come, right? Like even 2 years ago, you couldn't easily put like a crypto app on the phone, and now you can put a crypto app on the phone that runs on the blockchain and that has like some kind of fiat onboarding, and you can do like all of this on your phone, right? Literally 2 years ago, you couldn't do that. So like it's easy to. We do have a long way to go, but I think we really have like come quite far, and recently as well.
I think that's fair enough. So the chain will kind of be almost abstracted away from the user in your.
Ideally, When you go on Polymarket, right? Do you think of like Polygon, the blockchain? Like not really.
Only when from a developer's point of view, when it's like their API is not so complete, and I have to go if I want to get like balance updates, I actually have to go to the chain to get them because obviously it's physically settled. But I don't think for a user experience, Polymarket is top tier though. To be honest, many times, even because obviously we're trading on Polymarket quite a bit. Many times when you're doing the test trading, you end up doing some clicking and blah blah blah. And I usually find that you try to execute a price and it comes back and says, the price has moved now, and then it's popping up to sign every time, which is a real pain in the ass. Do you know what I mean? I kind of want to just like approve my wallet to do this, and then I can just click. So I think that they're not the best for that in some
I agree,
ways.
And often when you see that, it is kind of interesting because it makes you realize like maybe the edge is something different. Like maybe they're just an incumbent, they have like the brand or something.
It's not necessarily the best technology that always wins, right? I
Exactly.
mean, we know this from time immemorial. VHS beat Betamax, but it's not the best tech. But there's obviously something about the branding, something about them capturing the moment of the US election to get that even though they're not the biggest by volume. I think Kalshi is the biggest by volume. That's the one that your everyman on the street, if they've ever heard about prediction markets, is going to go to. So do you think you'll see competitors in tap trading, or do you think you've got
I think we already have, so a lot, I mean, it's an idea that people can clearly see the value in the idea.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have tried to vibe code it. I mean, but when I was raising money, I vibe coded it, right?
Yeah,
And,
of course,
I was showing investors.
I remember seeing it in the Telegram. Yeah,
I've already vibe coded it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you can't launch tap trading as like a vibe coded app. It needs very deep. The market making, the infrastructure side of things is like very complicated. It's quite difficult to build, which is why we spent a year building.
I know. I'd love to say, I mean, the amount of people I've spoken to, we speak to people who are launching dexes, launching apps, all this kind of stuff. And it's music to my ears to hear you say that. And you can tell that you've been through the experience of doing trading, because I think a lot of people who don't really know what trading is like think, oh yeah, you just keep the spreads wide, and and you can pick up this. It's not quite as easy as that. But
I think maybe that's like a testament to I had quite a unique background in that I've been a trader, and I've also launched trading platforms. This is kind of like the intersection of my experience.
I used to work at a CFD provider actually, so this is kind of like they still exist, right? But
this is just a contract for the difference in
price. So the big ones in the UK are like IG, CMC, etc. And they were the way I'm talking like the 2010s, where if you wanted to get short oil, for example, as a punt, as sort of like I've got this speculative conviction, then you could actually go on their app and put some margin on there and actually short oil.
My first big loss was on CFDs, actually. It was Brexit. I had a financial advisor in Hong Kong, and I was not wealthy at the time, who just put like most of my money on some weird trade with CFDs where like I was just trading against volatility. So like, as long as the volatility stays within this band, you're going to make like a bunch of money. And the fucking Brexit happened.
Absolutely spiked.
The only thing that was guaranteed was volatility. I was like, I learned never to trust a bank when they give you a financial advisor.
Exactly. I mean, the fees they charge as well, I imagine. I remember, we had a product there, which was they used to call knockouts, which were 10-second. You would basically be able to bet whether the price was going to go up above the knockout price. There were knockouts, knock-ins, and all this kind of stuff. So I think the underlying mechanism of betting is nothing new under the sun, right? Humans want to trade these things. Do you think there's anything? Do you think that the novelty that you're creating is then more the user experience rather than the underlying derivative product?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like what we have done some like innovation on the derivative side, but the real innovation, the real 0 to 1 is the user experience.
Yeah,
and that was really where the first principles thinking happened. I've had a theory for a while that. I mean, not to segue too much, but we're sort of moving into this like attention economy.
What's the name of the famous LLM paper? Attention is everything you need.
Attention is everything, yeah. Quite literally, yeah. I think we're just like moving into this attention economy where like capturing attention is like the most valuable thing that you can do. And like everything that you build in terms of user experience has to respect the user's attention, has to be as engaging as possible, has to make them feel good, basically. And that's just missing from like most trading platforms right now.
So one of the things with the knockouts though was, of course, they ended up actually getting banned under the ESMA regulations. So I think this is 2018, where they basically were like, too many users are getting ripped out by volatility. You're not allowed to provide them anymore. Obviously, how do you think about regulation? And obviously, you're interested in launching in some jurisdictions where there's a lot of protection with this kind of stuff. How are you thinking about that approach to make sure you stay on the right side?
Yeah, we'd like to be as like compliant basically with all jurisdictions. I think that's like number one.
Yeah.
I think number two is
you don't want to end up in jail.
No, of course not. Yeah. I think number two is that we're building a derivative platform. We're not building a casino. So we have like multiple market makers. There are users who walk away, those traders who walk away, right, and they make money. Like if you're sharp, you're in a battle with the market maker, and you can potentially beat them.
If you've got a model, or if you've got an intuition that something's going to go up or down or whatnot, you can take a bet on that.
You can be a maker and a taker. Yeah. So we are at the end of the day building a platform for trading, but we are exploring like a regulatory strategy to launch in as many jurisdictions as possible. Unfortunately, we are geo-blocking the US at the moment and like a few other jurisdictions, but like our focus is just how can we get tap trading out to everyone basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So then let the lawyers work on getting the right license.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think one thing worth saying here is I think that regulators are a lot more friendly to this kind of thing than they ever have been in the past. Like,
to be honest, it's something that they understand. You're basically saying this is it's essentially a range binary option that these people are trading. They're buying and selling them. You understand that. You've given license for options many times, right? I think if you can frame it in the way that they can understand what it is, I think it makes it a little bit easier.
I think it's just also just working sort of like honestly with regulators. And we've seen a lot of success recently, right? Like Polymarket is basically accepted in the US. They're serving retail everywhere.
I mean,
right?
Kalshi's, you've got
Kalshi,
to do full KYC, because I'm presuming Euphoria is fully permissionless, right? So no KYC or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, to launch in a bunch of jurisdictions, like if we need to do KYC, we'll do KYC.
You're doing KYC,
of course,
okay, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, like if we have to do something that adds a little bit of friction to the experience, but makes us like more compliant, we'll do it because like everyone else has to do it as well, right? So you're on like an even
table
platform.
stakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've actually been running on testnet, haven't you? What have you called it? The Tapathon.
We've called it Tapathon. Yeah. I think we are like famous for naming things well. And one thing I'm very proud of is like that we can name things.
all you need is a good name. So how's it going? Like, how many users have you had tapping?
So we were very oversubscribed. So we've got 5,000 users sort of tapping away. This is like a final stress test of the systems before we go live.
Toy money, right?
When you sign up for the Tapathon, you get $1,000 to trade with. If you lose that $1,000, you can bring your balance up to $100. So you do have a chance to sort of like keep trading. But the results have been very positive. So we're always a little bit worried about the like leading up to this moment. You just like don't quite know, right? Like
there's always a fear, like when it goes.
There's always a fear, Like when I vibe coded the first sort of proof of concept, you could just like print money, and it's like obviously that's not going to work in real life. And then a lot of the FUD that we got up until this point was like, oh, everyone's just going to get like wrecked because these people that vibe coded competitors, like they just wrecked everyone. Like you go on any of these like competitors and you just lose all your money like instantly. It's just not.
I suppose
fun,
they're not having external market makers being able to compete on price that they're making on, right? So they're making it a little bit more.
You're just trading against the house with like a bad market making model. It's just, it's like rigged against you basically. So we've like put all of the effort into making the execution very fast, making the market making as competitive as possible, so that players basically have a like
they're
a
getting the
higher
best
edge.
prices for these
options.
Yeah.
And looking at the statistics yesterday, I'll have to check again today, but it was really positive. So there was a bunch of traders that were like quite highly in positive P&L. So there's people like 30,000, a few people like $30,000 or whatever of profit. People had made about 500,000 taps, and the market makers were overall in profit as well, and about 40% of users were in profit, which I think is like very positive. That's sort of like what you want as a trading platform. And as long as we can like keep this up, I think it'll be. Like,
do you think people's behavior will change when it's real money?
I mean, already, right? We see like some cat and mouse games. We look at like the people who have the highest edge and like, okay, well, like what are they doing? We say, oh, okay, like I won't go into it because it's kind of like alpha at this point. But we're already seeing some like cat and mouse games play out, and this is the fun, right? Like you can go and try and rug the market makers as there will be some people who can tap well and they will make money basically. But I expect that these will just become like more fun. Basically there'll be a bunch of different ways that people will try and game the system. There'll be a bunch of things that the makers do to try and protect themselves against the sharp flow. I'm really excited to see this play out.
I mean that's just how it is in all trading systems, right? You like
I've been the toxic flow.
I mean, at least it's better than in TradFi where if you give them too much toxic flow, they just ring you up and say we're not doing it anymore.
I guess like salmonella was sort of the ultimate toxic flow, right? So I've been on both sides of that relationship. I've been the toxic flow. I've been the person trying to protect against the toxic flow. Now I'm the platform.
So you accept. So what's your timeline for mainnet launch? How long is the Tapathon going on for?
It's going for 2 weeks. And then we will probably like maybe a week or so after that. We're planning to launch the mainnet. Everything going well, which it looks like it's going well at the moment. So you won't have to, if you're watching this, you won't have to wait for very long.
Might already be live.
Might
already be in the order books.
By the time you see this, it may be. Who knows? But we want to do this properly, obviously. Like make sure that it's a great experience for everyone. The site is robust. It's not going down. It's got the features that we want. Put in the due care and attention.
So do you know what I love about this? It's an actual product. It's not like, we're launching a token because we're doing something, there's some kayfabe about what the token's utility is. Like, I mean, this is just an actual like product that people should use. and not some crypto vaporware.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the innovation in Euphoria doesn't feel that like crazy, right? It's like you're tapping on the screen, but there's not a lot of new thinking in the space, in my opinion, because there's so many people like, oh my god, it's like I don't think this is like it's not that crazy innovative to like think of this.
Oh, they
idea.
think they've invented something new,
yeah,
and actually it's just a thing that's existed in TradFi for
yeah, or
20,
it's something
years.
where it's like there's a lot of technical masturbation in crypto, where it's like
tell me about it.
People come up with some kind of product or like system. It's actually very beautiful from a game theoretic perspective. Like mechanism designers would salivate over. Like
3-3 sort
yeah,
of thing.
it's just like so beautiful. It's like, but people don't actually like want it. I mean, I'm an angel investor, so I see that all the time. That people have these ideas like this is a very clever idea. Like this is game theoretically sound. This is piecing different technologies together. This is very like novel and new. But it's like, but does anyone like want this?
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, is this actually going after an opportunity? So I mean, one thing I've always done with my own product ideation is like I try and always link the creative energy to the opportunity. It's like, am I actually going after a big opportunity? Yeah.
It'd be remiss not to talk about AI, given it's all anybody's really talking about. You were telling me when we were off camera that you've how many agents?
We've got about 8 agents running at the moment. Yeah.
So you're fully bought into OpenClaw then?
So I actually studied AI at university for a while.
Okay.
So I actually have like a background. I actually have a bit of a background in AI. But when I was studying AI, there was like just nothing but like there was like clustering classification out.
K-means and all this kind of stuff.
There were like neural networks, but I didn't even really touch on that.
We called them MLPs back in the day, though, didn't we?
It was barely even touched on in my my qualification. And so I left my studies thinking like there's just actually nothing that exciting in AI. And then many years later, ChatGPT 3.5 came out, and I was like, holy shit, like, I mean, if I just stayed in AI, I would probably like even would have paled in comparison to buying Bitcoin at this point. But yeah, so obviously I am very interested in AI. I think AI raises a lot of interesting philosophical questions as well. Like at the moment, I don't think that AI is going to replace me. I'm a little bit bearish on like the singularity and AI replacing everyone.
I mean, I think I saw some very interesting paper that claims to have proved that AGI is not actually possible with the current architecture, and it's to do with the fact that so the analogy they gave is okay. So draw 6 on the floor, right? If I'm looking at the 6 from this direction, and you're looking at it from that direction, it looks like a 9 to you, right? And so what's the actual truth there, you know? And
I guess my bear case for AI would be that the real innovation in AI happened in 2017 or whatever.
Yeah, the attention paper,
Yeah, and then like so Google used it for Translate.
Yeah.
Sam Altman realized that you could make a chatbot with it. ChatGPT 3.5 was the biggest innovation. Obviously, a lot of exciting stuff since, but there's never been such a big leap as like Google Translate to ChatGPT 3.5.
Yeah. The chatbot was the leap.
It has slowed down after that, even with all the crazy stuff. And like the only real innovation here is this transformer architecture, and like I think we need to really like reach the singularity or whatever you want to call it, where we're all replaced. We need a new innovation. So it might happen.
Demis is talking about world models. I think is the thing that they're exploring next. I mean.
We'll see, but like, I mean, I just skeptical. We spend so much energy and compute running the LLM architecture, whereas like when I look at you, I see an AGI running with like the electricity of a light bulb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, like I don't believe in like magic and spirit. So clearly, inside your head is something.
This is a more efficient architecture than
millions of dollars of like compute, right?
Yeah.
So there's like something fun. There's something we're missing basically.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. You know, I always think one of those things that in the end, what we'll find out is we'll end up making a biological computer, and in the end, what you'll end up growing is some sort of kind of brain type
maybe tomorrow they come up with a new innovation, right? But I don't see it yet. I just see this like this amazing. We've done something very amazing.
It's a sigmoid, right? It's a sigmoid, and sigmoids look like exponential growth. Until they're not, right? And I think, you know, the fundamental thing that they're all relying on is this magical result that if you throw more compute at it, then the log loss comes down. But does it forever, you know, or actually we're seeing the thing. But
and I don't say this as like some like I use AI every day.
Same,
I have like 8 agents running right now on OpenClaw. I spend like maybe 2 to 3 hours interacting with an LLM literally every day for like different reasons.
For a productivity enhancer. But this thing is not going to be replacing you as making judgment calls. It's replacing the laborious parts of, say, writing code or doing presentations, right?
It's just creating a lot of slop, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I saw did you see the little quadrant that was like, you know, if uses AI has good judgment, turbo brains, uses AI has bad judgment, slop cannons.
I think that actually, like, just coming back to this idea of like the attention economy and the attention wars, I do think like that one interesting thing is that there are like only a certain amount of humans in this planet, and therefore there's like a limited pool of like total attention. And like now content creators can fight so much more easily for that. So I see all these content creators essentially aiming like AI slop cannons at each other, right? They operate some kind of AI pipeline, which is just like churning out content, and like the human stays in the loop only as much as necessary to make the content look more authentic, because obviously you want to stay out of the pipeline as much as possible. So it's more efficient. So at least right now we seem to be moving into this world of like AI influencer slop cannons, sort of like just churning out content as they fight for this sort of like limited pool of attention. I don't know how sustainable it is. I think we'll adjust our platforms.
I think we'll always revert to authenticity. You know what I mean? I think like if there's a human there, we all are aware. Like if I see a video on Twitter and it's so obviously I'm just like, no, I'm not watching that shit. You know what I mean? Like, whereas when people put like real posts out there with real data or real interesting videos, now of course they may have used AI to augment or supplement how they've researched it and developed it and put it out there, but you still need that sort of like real authentic piece of engagement or content.
Slightly sidebar story, but when I started experimenting with OpenClaw, a friend of mine who's a doctor called me up and said, could I come over and you help me set up OpenClaw? I want to see if it can help with my dating. I said, okay, like I'm not dating at the moment, but like I'll help you out. And so he came over and we got OpenClaw. It set up like a Android emulator on the device, and it installed Hinge. And it was swiping for him. He went to the toilet at one point, and I watched it. It just churned through. It swiped and sent a message to like 50 different people. And I looked at, and the messages were good because it was trained on his WhatsApp history. It sounded like him. It was funny, and it was like clever, and he was getting responses.
But he's fucked though when he goes and meets them in real life, and he's like, you're nowhere near as witty as your WhatsApp.
But when I saw this happening, I was like, they're just going to change the way Hinge works. Like it's just like everyone's going to start. He's not a technical guy. Everyone's going to start like doing this. Like the platforms will have to adjust. Like Hinge will switch to like more video based content. Like platforms they'll just change the way that they work to account for these like slop cannons. But I think we are in an interesting time because like
I also think it's a little bit. We're a little bit in the what's it called? You know, when you're in the bubble, right? You know, and we think it's like the biggest thing about, and everyone's using OpenClaw and everyone's doing this on Twitter. Actually, I don't think if I go out and ask my dad what OpenClaw is, he might ChatGPT, yes, because that's kind of like come out of the bubble into mass. Is he installing?
I do have some hobbies that that put me in touch with a lot of like normal normies, like because I'm into like music. I produce music. I'm into like fashion and photography. So I just interact with a lot of people where they're like, "What's ChatGPT?" Like they don't know. Literally, it's not part of their life whatsoever.
And then I think most of these people, they work most of the jobs in the economy, and so this whole like, oh my God, everyone's going to be out of work.
You're like, bro, I'm a dentist, and my wife is like a real estate agent.
This is just the next phase of like productivity enhancement. You know, like we went from like punch cards, then we wrote low-level languages to help us, then we wrote high-level languages, and now we've got like LLMs that can help us produce stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool to help you produce more.
I would say for anyone worried about their job, I still think like it's human versus human. Like as long as everyone sort of has access to the AI tools and like forget about like the singularity hypothesis, but like in the future we can reasonably foresee. It's like there's still this playing field where like you are versing another human. So if you both have the AI, if you're
just table stakes.
Yeah, if you're still more motivated, you're still more industrious, you're still like thinking and doing, you will win, right? Like it's still PvP.
I was talking to one of our clients, and I was like, at the end of the day, trading's no different because all the other trading teams have got the same AI. So unless, or maybe like it's XTX who've got their own personal in-house one and petabytes of data, then maybe that's why they've got a slight edge. But like for most trading teams out there, we're using the same tools, we're using the same data sets. So it's much more about your own creativity and how you can engineer something out of it rather than, okay, I've got this like super intelligence, now I'm going to win.
I could be wrong, and maybe the AI kills us all. Like, I'm very optimistic.
We can unplug it.
Yeah.
Maybe not actually now, but
I am very optimistic about where we are and where the world is going.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I generally lean on optimism. Anyway, we've got a few people here. There's a different split in our office. Some of the doomers, who are like, oh my God, posting what the MicroStrategy stock price is and saying it's all over and stuff. But I generally am optimistic. I think the thing is with technology, it's kind of neutral, isn't it? You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. And so I think the same with AI. I think it will be put to fantastic uses. I think it will increase productivity, and I think in generally be a good
It's
thing
more
for them.
reasonable that we will like cure cancer, solve aging, than we
Well,
kill
yeah, I
everyone.
mean, we saw the protein folding thing, right? You know, like without AI, you know, we were folding 100 proteins a year or something, and now basically, I think the data set that Google released is like every protein has been folded.
Wow.
So the amount of research that you can then do on top of that, it's just only going to make us better. But obviously, people will use it for nefarious
Purposes.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, this tea's gone to my head. Nefarious purposes, and and we're going to see disinformation, and we're going to see that, and so we just have to be cognizant of it.
There's somewhat of a protection, just to bring it back to crypto a little bit, in like decentralization, right? Of like, if you have something in like everyone's hands, the world like adjusts pretty fast, even though it can be like a little bit chaotic. Whereas it's like more centralization is actually more dangerous. Like if only one person has the AI, they are incredibly dangerous, right? Like if only China or North Korea or Russia or something has the AI, we're like it's a very dangerous situation for us. But if everyone kind of has access to the AI, like even if you can use AI to create like a bioweapon, right? We'll adjust. Like we'll build a world where like there's detectors and like we'll build a world that can sort of like counter the threat. It's just actually very important that we like keep it decentralized and we make sure it's kind of like going into everyone's hands.
So you're a big proponent of the open source models then?
Absolutely, yeah. And decentralization. I think that like there are dangers to AI. And I think some of the ways that we mitigate this is quite literally by putting it in everybody's
Give everybody
hands.
the weights. What can you do?
Yeah,
right?
And like there might actually be some serious threats from it, but like having everyone have access to the AI means that we will create the world as quickly as possible to mitigate those threats. I'm much more worried about like, only one person has the AI. Like who knows what will happen then?
So you don't think the US military's got some top grade one that's slightly GPT 5.5?
I would if there's one conspiracy that I would bet on, it's that there's like some kind of Manhattan project for like AI in the US with a bunch of the top companies, and like obviously I have zero evidence of this, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I would bet on that.
I think it would show up in the electricity usage in the compute though. Like I actually think the amount of information and data and compute that we're using out there now, and so the world is so much more open and connected than it was in like 1945 or whatever, that I think you would see something like that, like how people, the other market wants the data centers more than the US government does. So we've talked about the Tapathon. So we talked about going live on mainnet in a few weeks. What's sort of then the plan for year one, year two? What do you think the fullest realization of Euphoria looking like?
Yeah, so I mean, like, as you said, right now, like the focus is on just like a really core product that is just like really fun for people to use and people want to come back to it. But there's a lot of directions that we can go in next, and I think we will listen to the market to some degree and like let people tell us what they want next.
So it's like more assets,
so a few directions,
time scales.
I think those are the main ones would be the three main ones would be more assets. Maybe people want to trade stocks or commodities or something like that. Longer time frames. So maybe people want to do 1 hour, 1 day, and there's probably like different types of people that want to trade over longer time frames as well. And the market making is
and also like different hedging things, because one of the hardest things as a market maker is like there's all these like novel products coming on, but like how do you like correctly hedge? If somebody puts a 5-minute binary out there, how do you hedge that with a perp? Ideally you want like another venue with a 5-minute binary that you can get the offsetting position on. So there's definitely
maybe it gets a bit easier with like a day, for example.
Exactly, because the binary thing, because it's got this discontinuity, and if you're trying to hedge that, say with a linear instrument, you have to approximate this discontinuity with a linear instrument, which is very hard, right? So certainly I could see if it's not necessarily a bad thing to actually overlap with some of the other venues, because I think market makers, I'm thinking about the market making side, that they would appreciate, okay, I've actually now got another venue where I can provide liquidity to try and offset my risk on another venue. So I think that's why we end up in this world where it's not one venue that dominates, because actually...
It sounds like you want us that to be our direction.
I'm not biased.
I do think it would be very exciting,
yeah.
I think third would also be new trading experiences.
Okay,
so maybe people just want more types of trading experiences. Like right now you can tap as the taker. What if you could tap as the maker? It's just the opposite game, right? It's like you're trying to...
It's the lay bet, not the...
it's like you're trying to not have the price. You're trying to be as close to the price as possible while not having the price hit the square. Or maybe people want more like perps type stuff. Maybe they want different types of derivatives. So we're open to that as well. But I think longer time frames does feel important to us. I think it's likely you'll get what you're asking for.
Brilliant. So I think we'll leave it there. Nathan from Euphoria, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks. See you soon.